She was just 2 years old, too small to speak in full sentences, too innocent to know what pain really was. But by the time authorities found Lily Furneaux, the truth was written across her tiny, bruised body. On January 20th, 2024, paramedics were called to a home in Camdenton, Missouri. A 2-year-old girl was unresponsive. The call was frantic. The woman on the line, Renee Marie King, sounded panicked, claiming the child had suddenly stopped breathing. But by the time EMTs arrived, Lily was already gone. Her skin told a different story. Blunt force trauma, swelling, multiple bruises at various stages of healing. This wasn't a sudden accident. It was something else, something far worse. And the more they uncovered, the more horrifying it became. This wasn't just the death of a child. It was the betrayal of every adult who should have protected her. Lily Furneaux was born in 2021, a sweet little girl with big eyes and curls that bounced when she ran. Her life was supposed to be simple, divided between 2 homes, loved by 2 parents. Her biological parents had separated. Her mother, whose name is withheld for privacy, had shared custody with her ex, Zachary Furneaux, Lily's biological father. Zachary lived with his new wife, Renee Marie King, in a trailer in Camden County. From the outside, it seemed like a typical blended family. But behind closed doors, something was dangerously wrong. In the months leading up to Lily's death, her mother noticed bruises, small at first, on her legs, her arms, then larger, more frequent, and Lily began to flinch when touched. Her mother reported her concerns to Missouri's Department of Social Services more than once. But the system moved slowly. There were caseworkers, visits, reports filed, yet nothing changed. The court kept Lily's visitation schedule intact. Each time she left her mother's arms, there was a whisper of dread. Each return came with new injuries and fewer smiles. By January 2024, that whisper became a scream. Lily Furneaux was only 27 months old when her life ended. She loved dinosaurs, bubble baths, and the color pink. She would giggle uncontrollably when she played peekaboo. She wasn't just a victim, she was a soul in bloom. Friends of the family described her as spirited, endlessly curious, and bright beyond her age. She had just started stringing words together, mama, dada, and her favorite word, more. She adored her older siblings. She followed them like a shadow, trying to copy their every move. Her favorite days were the ones spent in the park, barefoot in the grass, chasing bugs and blowing kisses. But there was another side to her final months. Lily became more withdrawn. She cried more often. Her mother said she'd scream during diaper changes. She began to fear the sound of the door when it was time to leave for her father's house. The light inside her, once so strong, had started to dim. And yet, when asked, Lily would still say, "I love you," with a tiny grin and open arms. She didn't know what was happening. She didn't know she was being hurt. All she knew was love, and she gave it, even when the world failed her. The call to 911 came at 10:34 a.m. Renee Marie King claimed she had just found Lily unresponsive and rushed to call for help. But something about her voice sounded controlled, not panicked, not like a woman who had just watched a child die. When first responders arrived at the trailer, they were met with a suffocating silence. Lily's small body was lying on a mattress. No signs of recent CPR. No fresh bruises from attempts to revive her. Just a child, still, pale, and already cold. Paramedics immediately noticed the extensive bruising. Her back, chest, thighs. Some were new, others were yellowing, weeks old. Her face was swollen. There were signs of blunt trauma to her head and abdomen. This wasn't sudden. This was patterned, sustained. A pediatric forensic examiner would later confirm that Lily's injuries were consistent with repeated abuse. Not a fall, not a sickness, but deliberate harm. And yet, there was no chaos in the home. No signs of struggle, no broken furniture, just a meticulously made bed and a woman sitting on the couch, too composed. It didn't take long for the police to start asking deeper questions, and Renee's answers would unravel her entire story. If you agree children deserve better protection, hit the like button. From the moment police began their questioning, Renee's timeline shifted. First, she said Lily fell. Then she claimed Lily had been sick all night. Later, she insisted she had just stepped away to use the bathroom and returned to find Lily unresponsive. But her statements contradicted not only themselves, they contradicted the physical evidence. There were no signs Lily had vomited, no signs of illness. The bruises told a different story, repeated trauma, not a sudden collapse. When Lily's biological mother was informed, her screams could reportedly be heard from outside the hospital. She had warned the court, she had filed reports, and now her daughter was dead. Renee Marie King was arrested on suspicion of second-degree murder and held without bond. At her bail hearing, she sobbed, pleading to be released just to attend Lily's funeral. "I just want to be there with my husband and my kids. I didn't do anything to her," she cried. But the judge wasn't moved. The bruises on Lily's body, the inconsistencies in Renee's story, they were damning, and Renee wasn't the only one under scrutiny. Investigators began looking into Zachary Furno, Lily's biological father. Why didn't he report the injuries? Why didn't he notice the signs? Why did he let Lily go back time after time? What they uncovered next would spark national outrage. As the investigation deepened, it became clear this wasn't just a case of one abusive stepmother, it was a systemic collapse. Child Protective Services had received at least 2 prior complaints from Lily's mother. Photos of bruises, reports of Lily crying during exchanges. And yet, the court ruled there wasn't enough proof of abuse. In fact, just 2 weeks before Lily's death, a caseworker closed the file. No further action recommended. The final turning point came when forensic evidence concluded Lily had suffered blunt force trauma to the abdomen, the kind of injury that causes internal bleeding and takes hours to kill a child. She would have been in visible pain. She would have cried, screamed, and yet no one had called for help until she stopped breathing. That report shattered Renee's defense. The medical examiner's statement was unambiguous. This child suffered a violent, prolonged assault. The injuries were not accidental. A few days later, prosecutors officially charged Renee Marie King with second-degree murder, endangering the welfare of a child, and abuse of a corpse. After it was revealed she made no genuine attempt to resuscitate Lily. What happened to Lily wasn't just murder, it was silence, system failure, and the complete erasure of a 2-year-old's right to be protected. What would drive a woman to hurt a child she called her own? In the weeks following Lily's murder, more chilling layers began to surface. Renee Marie King, outwardly loving, social media polished, and legally married to Lily's father, had no criminal record, no prior child abuse charges. But behind closed doors, her behavior painted a different picture. Family friends began to speak. One described her as short-tempered and controlling. Another said Renee would often mock Lily behind her back, calling her needy and dramatic. There were rumors of jealousy, resentment toward Lily's bond with her father. Psychologists later suggested that Renee may have viewed Lily not as a child, but as a symbol of her husband's past, a constant reminder that he had a life before her. That misplaced rage, left unchecked, became lethal. Instead of stepping up as a protector, she projected her emotional instability onto a defenseless toddler. Lily didn't speak in full sentences. She didn't understand custody battles or step-parent resentment. She only knew hugs, storybooks, and pain. And then there was Zachary Furno, Lily's father. Though never charged in her death, questions loomed over him like shadows. Why didn't he see the signs? Why did he defend Renee even after seeing Lily's bruises? Why didn't he listen when Lily's mother begged him to stop the visits? Some say Zachary was manipulated. Others say he was complicit. But the truth? He was a father who failed to protect his daughter. And that truth will live with him longer than any sentence ever could. What do you think? Tell us in the comments. Lily Furno was buried in a tiny white coffin, surrounded by teddy bears, pink flowers, and people who wished they'd done more. Her biological mother collapsed at the funeral. The words spoken that day were not just for closure, they were a demand for justice, a demand for change. Renee Marie King remains behind bars awaiting trial. Her defense claims it was all an accident, but no one buys the story anymore. Not after the autopsy, not after the timeline, not after the bruises. In the wake of Lily's death, public pressure mounted. A petition was started calling for stricter laws around joint custody and step-parent accountability. It gained over 100,000 signatures within weeks. Local lawmakers proposed Lily's Law, aimed at ensuring children under shared custody receive immediate wellness checks when abuse is suspected. Her mother continues to fight for reform. In interviews, she said the guilt never fades. "I knew something was wrong. I did everything I could, and it still wasn't enough." Lily's story isn't just tragic, it's damning, because she didn't slip through the cracks. She was pushed, a mother's voice ignored, a child's cries unseen, a system too slow to care until it was too late. So if you want to see more disturbing cases like this, cases that leave you asking, how could this happen? Then hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because this wasn't just a crime, it was a warning.